Hi, I'm Rob the Accountant, and this is Rob Speaks. What are we talking about tonight? We are talking about Jeff Bezos. Check it out. 5 hours ago, Bezos to sell 4.8 billion in Amazon stock. Billionaire Jeff Bezos is about to get even richer. The entrepreneur disclosed in a filing Friday. It's always funny how they always do it when no one's paying attention, which again, I am not begrudging the guy. He's free to do what he wants with his money, but he obviously doesn't do it on Monday morning when the market's open, right? So you got to get the maximum dollar for your sale, right? So he waits on Friday. The market can't react. It's just, filing's there. Whatever his price lock in is probably there, but who gives a crap? He's going to sell up to 25 million shares of the company, and ending May 29, 2026. All right, so the reality of this is, that Jeff Bezos is selling his stock now, like a lot of Trump's friends are, is because the capital gains rate is extremely low. You say, well, what's that mean, Rob? All right, well, so people who are wage earners go to work every day, they get a paycheck, and they get taxed for Social Security, Medicare, FICA, you put some money away in your 401k, healthcare, all that good stuff. Well, we don't really know what Jeff Bezos takes. I mean, I believe Amazon is headquarters in California or wherever it is. Who cares? It's not relevant. The fact of it is Jeff Bezos is so wealthy. Does he really need to take a paycheck? And so if you don't take a paycheck, then do you have an income tax rate? Because you can't have income tax on non-income sources. So what does this really mean, Rob? Well, the thing about rich people is they're smart, right? And so they always go and manipulate the tax code to help themselves. So what is really happening here is Jeff Bezos is selling his stock because this is the optimal time to sell his stock, because he's held all the stock for over a year, which means it's a long-term asset. And with Trump and even Biden, so they made the capital gains rate very low. So let's take a look at the capital gains rate, because the capital gains rate is different than income tax, right? Capital gains is if I spend $10 on this roll of tape today and I hold it for 12 months and 1 day, and then I sell this for $20, that additional $10 is not considered wage income. It's considered a gain. And thus, the capital gains, which is a tool of rich people, is taxed at a lower rate than what you and I go to work for. Let me show you. So, right now, here's from the IRS. I always say, when you're really looking for information, why don't you go to the source? The IRS is the one that dictates tax regulations. Those regulations are based on tax legislation. And so if you're going to believe anything, maybe you should believe it from the IRS. So here we go. Is net capital gains are taxed at different rates depending on overall taxable income. See, there's the question, folks. Overall taxable income. Although some or all net capital gains may be taxed at 0%, the tax on most capital gains is no higher than 15% for most individuals. So, a capital gains rate of 0% applies if your taxable income is less than or equal to, look at the numbers, 47, 94 if married filing jointly, and 63 for head of household. Now, in reality, people, Jeff Bezos could get away with selling $4.8 billion worth of stock and be subject to 0% capital gains. Did you hear what I'm saying? He could be subject to 0% capital gains, because really at the end of the day, we don't have his tax return. So, again, we have to look at taxes as taxes on income. So if you don't have any income or you have deferred income, then there would be no taxes. So if, for example, Mr. Bezos had deferred taxable income for the last 10 years, so to speak, then he would have an effective tax rate of 0% because he wouldn't make $47,000 as single. And I believe since he may or may not be married, I'm unsure of that, unless his wife makes the 94, he would be under that. So then they go up to where's the capital gains if it's 15%. So there are your numbers: 47 to 518, 63 for head of household to 551, and then 20% on everybody else, right? And so, when you look at this, it's highly unfair because if you or I actually had $4.8 billion of income, we would be taxed at an effective rate of maybe 60, maybe even 65% combined on that 4.8 billion. But see, for rich people, he's going to whack away for 4.8 billion and he may pay as little as 0%, which is nothing, or he could pay as high as 20%. The fundamental facts is Jeff Bezos' tax rate at the end of this year or at the end of next year effectively is going to be lower than 90% of what Americans pay. Because the lowest income tax for most Americans is 10%, and then you go up to 15%, and then 20, 25, 30, 35, and the highest I believe is 39%. Don't quote me on the 39%. Laws keep changing. But so here, this is why. It's about time. It's about time for him right now to cash out. And he's cashing out now because there's uncertainty over the tariffs. Amazon doesn't understand whether they're going to win, lose, or draw. And I'm going to have another Amazon thing here about them expanding their rural delivery business. We'll talk about that later. But this is it, guys. This is why it pays to be rich. Because, see, at the end of the day, we learned a couple weeks ago that Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, he doesn't take any income either. What does he do? He takes out mortgages on his properties, and then those mortgages are probably guaranteed by the Facebook stock. So if anyone believes a bank is actually making him pay his mortgage payment every month, then you could believe that. But how is he living on money? He's living on money because if he has a $4 or $5 million home and he takes out 90% of $4 or $5 million, he's got that money in his pocket, but it's a loan. This is why Bernie Sanders has multiple homes. Most of the Congress has multiple homes because everybody is finding ways to have income that is not income or not classified as income. So, but yet they have money in their pocket. They can work with that money. They can go out and live on that money, but they're not subject to any taxes. And so it is pretty disgusting that a guy who's before Elon Musk was probably the richest guy in the world, he is 20% tax rate. If it's that, I surmise, Bezos is probably going to pay 0% because again, he's got to have income, and I just don't see where Jeff Bezos is getting a W-2. I don't know if Amazon as a corporation is forcing the founder to take a paycheck. So again, here are the numbers, folks. You can come to the irs.gov text topic TC409. Just let's go up here so you can see where everything is. There's no fakeness to it. This is where it is. And there's the rates right there. 0% if you're single and you make $47,000 or filing separately. That's the bench. So did Jeff Bezos make 47 grand last year? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. It's unlikely because, wealthy people don't go around grabbing paychecks for themselves. They don't need to. And I think that's something when we're looking at taxes for a whole, for everybody, then maybe we do need to start looking at some type of wealth tax when your capital assets allow you to live in America all year long without actually taking a paycheck, without actually having any earnings, and thus you are not paying taxes. This is a little bit unfair. It's a lot of people that go to work every day. It's a bit unfair to, really all of America right now, because we're getting people like Elon Musk that tell us we should justify our job and we should all work more, and work more while we receive less in pay, while they have all the tools and the tricks, once again, to manipulate the situation so that they don't pay. I'm Rob. This is Rob Speaks, and I hope you guys join me for the next one. Bye for now.